Every subculture has to define itself against the main culture.
Well, the purpose of tonight's meeting, we're going to have an open floor panel discussion on non-traditional families. That's to say, single parents, interfaith couples, same-sex couples, all sorts of socially classified non-traditional families.
We're going to start by defining family as specific instance of family.
There's me and my son, that's my household.
I self-identify as a gay male, and my family, I grew up in a pretty traditional Southern family.
I also identify as a gay man, and I'd say my family is a pretty tight nuclear family. We're an immigrant family.
I am in an interfaith marriage, and Zach's my son.
I had a fairly traditional family structure.
A lot of people look at families from their own family perspective. It's just how they function. So hopefully they'll get to see how other families interact.
I see definitely on a theoretical level.
The reason we constructed this polyfamily was that we were basically relationship radicals, right? And we were going to do it all differently, right? But there's the ideal, and then there's what you actually wind up doing.
My definition of family is anybody that's in your life and is committed to you.
So to me, a traditional family means a lot of people. My father, who was a civil engineer, said that he could have children or he could have money, and he preferred children. So that's what he did.
Saying traditional is an incredibly useful tool for shaping culture.
What this really needs to be about is about our society, our democracy, our representative democracy, telling the government that we don't need to be using the term marriage as a legal unit anymore. That is a religious term, and it needs to be classified the way they do it in Western Europe. Using a non-religious term like civil union, it will eventually start pushing towards more open forms of marriage.
The religious institutions that they feel the most pressure from. Institutions are always the last to change, so we have to find another way around it.
So is that less about rearing or more about causing both parents and children to conform to a set of community standards?
This is about being a pagan in a community that's conservative. So at the same time that the community's influencing my child, he's influencing the community. I feel like he's been raised in a much more isolated way than I really wanted him to be. They kind of figured out eventually that I was weird in some fashion, and quit letting their kids come over to my house. They tried Pascal's wager on my 12-year-old, whose response was, well, not knowing what happens after you die is half the adventure.
Yes. Our society is unique in the fact that we accept everyone else, despite the fact that people do not agree. In the United States, the majority of people, while they do not like the differences, will accept them and walk by.